The Israeli Prime Minister has praised the United States for its cuts to the Palestinian UN agency. Benjamin Netanyahu said UNRWA was perpetuating the Palestinian refugee problem. Well, earlier on today, France 24 spoke to the head of UNRWA. He told us that Netanyahu's words were disingenuous. Rudaba Abbas reports.
International reaction continues to trickle in after the US decision to withdraw aid from the United Nations Relief and Works Agency for Palestinian refugees. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu commended the move.
The United States has done a very important thing, stopping the funds for the agency perpetuating refugees called UNRWA. The U.S. is finally beginning to solve the problem. It's a very important thing. The refugees institution must be cancelled. Funds should be used instead to help with the rehabilitation of the refugees. Their numbers are a fraction of the numbers reported by UNRWA.
But UNRWA's chief has disputed the Israeli Prime Minister's claim that Palestinians are the only ones that inherit the status of refugees.
It is often suggested that Palestine refugees are the only ones that inherit the status of refugees through the generations. But if you take Afghan refugees, for example, who live in Peshawar, in camps in Pakistan, you will find that the children and grandchildren of the original refugees who fled Afghanistan during the Soviet invasion in 1979 are, of course, considered and recognized as refugees and assisted as such by UNHCR. In other words, there's nothing different in the way that UNRWA does business, and one does not solve the problems of the region by wishing 5.3 million people away.
The European Union has urged the United States to reconsider its withdrawal.
The regrettable decision of the US to no longer be part of this international and multilateral effort leaves a substantial gap, and we hope that the US can reconsider their decision.
UNRWA says it will appeal to existing donors for more money to seek new sources of income.
Well, meanwhile, the United States has also confirmed that it's cutting $300 million in military aid to Pakistan. Washington has long accused Islamabad of providing a safe haven to Taliban-linked militants from over the border in Afghanistan. Pakistan, though, denying those charges and saying it spent billions of dollars and lost thousands of lives in the battle against Islamist extremism. Cole Stangler has the story.
The Pentagon says it has made a final decision to scrap $300 million in military aid for Pakistan. It comes amid mounting criticism from Washington that its ally isn't doing enough to fight terrorism. Earlier this year, President Trump slammed funding for Islamabad in a tweet.
The United States has foolishly given Pakistan more than $33 billion in aid over the last 15 years. And they have given us nothing but lies and deceit, thinking of our leaders as fools.
While Pakistan has received more than $33 billion in U.S. aid since 2002, tensions have simmered between the countries as of late. Pakistan's new Prime Minister Imran Khan has criticized the U.S. use of drones. After a recent phone call between Khan and U.S. Secretary of State Mike Pompeo, Pakistan's foreign minister said the U.S. needed to better understand Islamabad's point of view.
You do have to understand each other in a relationship that is bilateral and in which there are shared objectives. We will not just understand them, but we will also make them understand us.
That'll be up for discussion next week. Pompeo and Defense Secretary Jim Mattis will be in Islamabad to discuss the future of the country's ties.
Meanwhile, Netanyahu is preparing to host the Philippines President Rodrigo Duterte, who arrived in Israel for a historic visit, the first by a Filipino leader in more than half a century. Duterte will be talking trade and security, as well as visiting Holy Land sites. More than 1,200 Filipinos turned out to welcome him to Israel, many of them waiting in line for hours. Our Jerusalem correspondent Iris Makler has been to meet some of them.
This first visit by a Filipino president in more than 5 decades has been controversial. Israeli human rights activists have asked Israel's president not to meet Rodrigo Duterte. But here, amongst Filipinos living in Israel, there's nothing but love.
We love our president so much, and he's like, you know, he's like a rock star president. Duterte, welcome to Israel.
For me, he is chosen by God to serve the Filipino people.
Amen. 1,200 Filipino workers have come here to share the love, but also because they want help from their president. They want him to intervene to reduce the fees they pay before they come, which can amount to thousands of dollars per person.
It's ranging from $8,000 to $10,000 just to be here, just to work here. So we are expecting to be less in it.
Only one Israel! Only one Israel!
President Duterte will be here for 4 days. He'll meet Israel's president and its prime minister. He'll discuss tourism and security and sign an arms deal. And after that, he's heading to Jordan.